Hello, I'm Toycat, and today I'm making huge changes to this world because I'm doing something huge, which is updating the Let's Play download. This is a process that takes months because of the Minecraft marketplace, and so I can only realistically do it once per year, and I have to make any big changes just before that update is done. And this time I have something particularly big in mind because the desert well is Minecraft's most underrated and underloved structure, but that is something I'm changing today because I built a few desert wells here in my Let's Play. And when I say a few, I might actually mean more than 100 because it's such a beautiful structure which you can customize how you like. This one made out of quartz is stylish and sleek, while these are so new you'd never call them an antique. Using polished blocks made this one especially nice, while I'm sure this copper desert well will do much to entice. Wait, I just realized there's a giant typo on this desert well. There we go. I made wide desert wells, quadruple desert wells, never desert wells, and even my favorite type, because you can never have too many crafting tables, slime and TNT did very desert well, while moss, cake, and cactus did a little worse, if you can tell. Either way, you can see there is a silly number of desert wells, all leading to one particular spot right here at the very end, if you forgive the pun, but there is a clear spot that I think you need to have the desert well path definitively trend, and that is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to build a monument to desert wells, which is bigger than the well themselves. Regardless of what you think of the structures and the way that they bend, I'm sure you like that it goes all the way the same until the very end. This is the end well, and this is a clear opportunity to do something bigger. I mean, the desert well can have many variants, and hopefully this inspires you to try one of those in your world, but what if you could build something bigger, better, and stronger than a desert well? That is my goal today. So hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Play. I think I've said that like 3 times now, but yeah, at the end of this, I will be updating the world, at least starting the process, so that people can download all of this and more. But if you want to see the entire Desert Well stream, you can do that. It's 4.5 hours long. It's a whole thing to watch, but instead of that, maybe you prefer to watch this 4.5 minute Let's Play. Oh, it's not 4.5 minutes. Perhaps you prefer to watch this, okay, much longer than 4.5 minutes Let's Play, and if so, join me right now, because the first thing we need to do is go back to my base and grab some more sandstone. And the first thing I've done now I'm here is to make a brand new barrel using the worst recipe, by the way, just so I have somewhere to store all these extra blocks, because I do use my barrels to store weird cuts of wood that you need at some point, but not all the time, and this is going to be the one for cherry wood, I guess. Anyway, now we've got ourselves some sandstone, we've got ourselves some sandstone slabs, and I've got myself some water so I can make a mega desert well, right? The answer definitely should be yes, but I'm going to include some gold ore, and maybe even some magma too, just for the sake of having some extra light around the place. And what a place it's going to be, by the way. Also, this is the Let's Play, and one of the things I do here is I like to actually have real conversations in a way a lot of Minecraft videos can't, but we are going to actually be able to talk about things, and most importantly, I feel like we need to talk about this big desert well project. It is one of the biggest, like, subscriber-based things I've ever done in the past, where basically everyone actually got to have a small say in the most, shamelessly capitalistic way. I do think a lot of people do have some, like, reservations about that. Like, should everything be for sale? And I do agree that, like, as a total, we can have debates about what should be, private versus, also, nope, can't build here. Whoopsie, I guess I should start slightly more to the left. That is the sort of thing that you should do before starting. You know that famous phrase, measure once and cut twice? That is what I'm going to be doing today. But yeah, we're going to be building a desert well, and I do feel like a lot of people, because this whole project was kind of a silly one overall, a lot of people do have immediate issue of the idea of like, well, is money the best way to determine anything? And I do actually see where people come up with this, but I think in terms of lots of things, especially online, it is actually one of the best determinants of how much someone cares about something. If you don't care about something, it's very unlikely you spend money on it, and if you do care about something, you probably do. This is how the entire beauty industry exists. This is how the entire industry around certain fashion things exists. Fashion isn't an inherent thing. Things don't inherently look good or bad. Instead, you're showing that you're up to date with the latest fashion, and that is what looks particularly good or bad about you. By the way, I think I need to go to sleep. Thankfully, I have this bed right in the middle of a summoning circle of desert wells, which is the perfect place to put it. But yeah, also, by the way, I love this bug with the elytra, super fun. But one of the most interesting things to me is the opposition to the idea that money is a determinant of lots of things. Because ultimately in the world, it is actually a big determinant. A lot of people do use, something I've heard so often is people spending more on a gym membership because if you spend money on it, you have to go. Otherwise, you're wasting your money. And I'm sure you know of someone in your life who's done that. This wouldn't work if we didn't think that money was a valuable way to share, show and share where your interests interests lie, right? And that is why, in my opinion, money actually is a pretty decent determinant of a lot of different things. But in particular, I feel like for this world, lots of people who subscribe do have some impact on it. Whether you've left a comment and you've got some idea about, oh, Toy Cat, you should do it this way, or whether you've just watched the series and, by part of watching, you've encouraged it to be the way that it is, everyone is having some impact on how the world is, and I think trying to remove that impact is impossible, so instead, I'm a big believer in make it an impact in the way that matters, and that's why I really did. So I'm gonna have to turn, this is my least favorite thing to do, I'm gonna turn sand into sandstone, just so I can actually make this giant desert well. I used up every single last piece of sandstone in my world doing this. Something I tell you I regretted, but I'd be lying. Having this many desert wells is something every world needs, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a really interesting thing about how money is so integral to many parts of society, but also how many of us can kind of pretend that it doesn't exist at the same time. Something which makes absolutely no sense. I have to fly all the way across my world to the only place I know for sure that there's some sandstone, and even then I'm not actually 100% sure. Actually, wait, over here, perfect. Wait, not perfect. That's sand, not sandstone, damn it. And no, I can't destroy my desert. I mean, it's just too perfect the way it is. I do think destroying the sandstone would be a good way to finalize that, but I do have also parts of my world that look like this, with just a few errant sandstone blocks lying around, so let's quickly destroy those. Anyway, one of the things that I think is really interesting is the way that, like, money can, like, dictate us in ways that we also aren't willing to admit. But I personally am a big believer in, like, let's just say stuff like that out loud. Saying the quiet bit out loud is something that's really important because not everyone can understand the quiet bit inherently. Maybe that's maybe that's not everyone. Maybe most people actually do get it. But there are all sorts of just things that go unsaid in society that actually are quite important, and maybe that's just me that thinks that it's not. Also, I think we made a mistake somewhere based on the fact that we have an uneven number here. Damn. Oh no, we did. Yeah, we built these pillars one block further in than we should have, so this entire pillar goes down, and instead, we have the slab go here to what will be the new pillar, which means that instead, this gets wiped out, and oh, no, that has made things even worse, actually, somehow. And then, once we... Oh, that is way too far in. This is too far out. This whole thing is a mess. Let's start it again. Oh, it turns out it's these that were too far outwards. So actually, yeah, we found the fix. We just placed the blocks there, and then we placed all of these on the outside. And I guess later we can fill all of these in with sandstone. But for now, let's just place this going upwards, and let's move that over there. Remove this whole row, because it won't exist soon. And then move this back over there and pretend this whole row didn't exist. Except it's fine for that to exist because we'll have a whole outer row there. Boom, we have a desert well, even with the fun little top bit. Oh, we placed it one block too high up. So even with the fun little top bit, which everybody loves, the little top that every desert well has, why does it need one? I don't know. But yeah, so to talk kind of seriously while we build a desert well, silly context combination as that is, I do, also, wow, we got a lot of sandstone, thankfully. I do think there's this very funny way that we kind of like to ignore certain things that we know are incredibly important. And that a great example of this is a homeless person, right? The beggar is the more accurate way to describe, like, what we're talking about, because you don't know their home or homeless situation. You just know that they are someone who is on the street. And so the interesting thing about that is if you are going to buy a coffee, let's say, which is an entirely non-essential beverage, no matter how much you like it, no matter how much you really enjoy the beverage that is coffee, it's never an essential, it's always a want. But yet, if someone is actually homeless, then their shelter is a must. Their food is a must, in a way that your coffee never can be. And so there's a fun kind of morality to, like, is it ever okay to buy a coffee while you know there are people who are starving? Is it ever okay, when you walk past someone and they're like, please, just instead of buying yourself a coffee today, buy this instead. Sometimes there are actually homeless people signs that will say something like this, and a lot of people are quite affected by that, are quite sold by such an idea, like, yeah, actually, why am I buying something nice to myself? But I think most people are not. I think most people would say, yeah, well, actually, I think it's okay say you have to look after yourself to look after other people. It's what the overwhelming majority of people believe, but we aren't honest with ourselves about that. Instead, people have to say, oh, he's probably going to use it on drugs. And some percentage of them will, but you don't know 100% that he's going to spend it on things that aren't good. It's just something that, like, you have to tell yourself so you can feel good about the fact that, like, oh yeah, I'm choosing to help him by buying my latte instead of giving him money. And I think it's incredibly interesting, like, look into humans. We have to convince ourselves, even when we're doing something, like, not bad, but, like, kind of humane, that we're actually doing something really good that would be really loved by some people. And that's why, you know, even the idea of, like, oh yeah, I can't just be like, I like money, and if you are willing to part with it, you must like something. Instead of saying that, we have to say, no, well, actually, it's a fun, like, piece of art. It's a social experiment, and it is technically both those things. If you really push, you know, like, I wouldn't argue, I wouldn't say it definitely isn't one of those things, because it actually is. But even though it is both those things, you know, you wouldn't be allowed to be honest if it wasn't those things. And even if though it is those things, it's not primarily those things. It's a thing about making sure that there is a, you know, like a, maybe times are hard, maybe times aren't hard, and I just want to buy myself a second, you know, jet ski. Why would that, I don't have a first jet ski, sadly. But, you know, like, why would that not be okay? Isn't it interesting that we have, like, different standards for what's fine? Whereas, you know, like, I had a, someone I follow is like, yeah, I need to do a, live stream to raise money for my dog's vet bills. If I'd have spent that money, like, if I'd have spent the second jet ski money that I would be saving myself, if I'd have spent that on, you know, like, my dog bills. Wait, let me say that the other way around. If I had enough money to pay for my dog's vet bills, but then I decide to spend that money on a jet ski, personally myself, and then I ask, oh god, I don't have any money left over, please could someone help me look after my dog bills? Would that be okay, you know? Like, money is fungible. Money is, it means the exact same regardless of where it is, but we all almost need to believe that it's not, because it starts to break a lot of things if we believe that. Speaking of things that start to break, you know, I think a fun example of this is, like, the example I said before is, like, a clear example where everyone's dealt with it before, but imagine you're going to a hospital in a third world country. You go to Sierra Leone, you go to Togo, you go to you know, like, you go to somewhere where the healthcare system isn't that developed, it's not that well funded, and when you're in the hospital, you visit the eye ward, and the doctor's like, yeah, this person is going to go blind tomorrow because we don't have the medicine that would save his eyesight because we can't afford it. It's $3, by the way. Oh, by the way, have you drank a coffee recently? Because I think those are about $3 too. I mean, they're not. They're a lot more. But I feel like for less than the price of a coffee, you could save this man's eyesight. Do you feel like you should do that? Do you feel like you'd be obliged, even morally as a human being, to put someone else's eyesight above your own needs if the doctor says it that way? Or even just, he doesn't say it, he just says, yeah, it would cost $3, but we don't have $3. Moving on. Do you feel as though you are obliged at that point to be like, fine, let's give the man of seeing eye issues my money. I was gonna buy a coffee at the airport, but instead I will feed this man. Do you feel like that's a obligation? Checking my mic, by the way. But yeah, do you feel like it's actively something you have to do at that point? And if you do feel that, and I feel like a lot of people would, but if that's your thoughts, then isn't that always true? Regardless of whether you go to the hospital or not, regardless of whether the doctor tells you about it, you know for a fact it's true. If you don't know for a fact it's true, I'll tell you for a fact it's true right now. People are dying from conditions that could be saved for fairly little money in comparison to some luxury you bought recently. Is it okay that you're buying luxuries, things you, by definition, don't need, while people are going blind every day, while people are starving to death every day, etc., etc.? There's an interesting a discomfort in the idea for a lot of people that, like, actually, I don't know that it is true. And I think that's one of those examples of things that, like, no one can come to a reconciliation on it. Is the correct thing to do? Another example, like a much smaller one, where you're, like, stuck between, like, what you think is right, but also what you know to be the course of action you'll take anyway, is everyone knows lying is wrong, right? It's very widely known about. There's no real question. You shouldn't lie in general. It's one of the earliest lessons your parents taught you, I assume, I hope. But even though every single person, with very few exceptions, is very aware that lying not okay. Everyone knows that, and yet lots of people not only lie out of sort of self-preservation, but will lie out of social necessity. When you receive a gift, it'd be really impolite to lie, no, not to lie, and be like, I already have one of these, I do not like it, I would return it if you gave me the choice. That would be rude, right? I like that it's a question mark, by accident, entirely. I should make it an actual question mark, right? I bet I could do that. I bet I have the power. So we'll move a block there and there, and then a block over here and there, and then remove these two, and wow, see, this is, doing things randomly is fun, because sometimes you get a better idea than randomness can give you. I think having a decent appreciation of how you actually work is important, and do you value lying, do you value other people's feelings more than you value the truth? It's something that's hard to say, but also a lot of people do. Like, I had a big tenant issue recently. I have a lodger, someone who was living with me, helped to pay for blah 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 blah. You kind of get it, but when I let them know that they were going to be young, I was very honest about that. But then they just kept asking over and over again, like, is something wrong with me? Technically there were things wrong with them. They weren't the reason they had to leave. But I could have said, yes, here's the problem with you. You talk to me when I specifically say I really can't talk right now. I've just been talking for 8 hours to strangers on the internet. I could say that, but it would be rude. And so I lied. I tried to tell the truth at all junctures until people give me very strong reasons not to. And when someone freaks out when I tell them the truth, it's like, that you prefer the lying package. I can do that in the future, which is why for everyone who is anyone watching this right now who thinks like, wow, isn't it weird that Toy Cat is telling us all of this stuff? Don't worry, I'll lie to you if you ever want me to. I'm gonna tell you to subscribe. Not because it, helps out my channel stats and increases your odds of seeing a video. If you subscribe, it actually helps cure poverty in third world countries. In fact, subscribing is the best way. I do donate to charities, and so the only way I can donate is if I'm alive and well. And so, technically speaking, subscribing will actually cure people's blindness eventually. Someone will have their blindness saved by your subscription. And wouldn't it make you feel good if you did that? Yeah, I bet it would. There we go. That's not the real reason I want you to subscribe, but don't you feel nicer about it? Don't I feel nicer because I've given you a reason to feel nice? And yeah, I feel like the lying to yourself thing is very common, but we also lie kind of socially all the time. And so the reason that's interesting to me is because, yeah, we have inconsistent values. Is truth important, or are people's feelings important? Because I feel like a lot of people would rather have the truth in all sorts of scenarios. Like, I know that the famous example is, technically speaking, if you're being cheated on, you don't actually, you don't feel the harm from it until you find out. Therefore, I mean, if you want to protect someone's feelings, just don't tell them, lol. Except, we all know that's quite terrible advice. We're all very aware, I hope anyone watching this video is very aware, like, wait a minute, that's not how that one works at all. So now let's put some gold ore in there. I think we'll just, mash some in the corners here. This is going out on the marketplace copy of the world. People are gonna see this gold ore. I think I need to spread this correctly to make it actually balance. But yeah, the truth is that we are always making these little value judgments, just not really thinking about them. And I try my best to be honest about those value judgments when they're not exactly the truth. If I feel like, okay, you've gotta tell people that this isn't. Like, I don't ever feel good asking for money and being like, this is because I need it for some reason. Because that's guilting someone into doing something nice. If you're doing something nice because someone guilted you, you almost don't get to feel good about it. Because you're only doing it out of extreme guilt in this moment. I don't give money to beggars on the street solely because if I wasn't going, if something is really important, then you wouldn't wait until. Also, there's so many fun variants of desert wells around here. If something really was incredibly important to you, and so many of them don't have the water they crucially need. But if something was really, really, really important to you, if you really felt like someone starving in the street was the most important, you should do that regardless of whether someone guilts you. In fact, by waiting until someone guilts you about it on the street, you're actually encouraging, you're not fixing the homeless issue, you're fixing, you're encouraging the sorts of person who would be willing to bother you regardless of whether or not it was a good thing for you. And that is what you should not be doing. Ideally, you would live your life in a way that makes the world a better place. And that means not just being like, oh, I feel bad, so I'll give some money. Because that, to make myself feel less bad, That's not very useful to anyone but yourself. Whereas what might be useful, this one's missing a slab, by the way. What might actually be incredibly useful to people who aren't you is if you, if you gave to charity more often, if you had some regularity to it, that would really help out the world. So this water is flowing out everywhere. I can fix that. Wow, made the world a slightly nicer place just now. But yeah, the overall goal in lots of places should be exactly the same. Also, does the water go down one block actually? I feel like it might, and having one in the center is arguably just drawing attention to the fact that there's not. But we'll be fine here. Just like how we're going to, if we place a slab there, and we place a slab over there, we now stop that spilling out everywhere. And so just tiny changes to make things better. One of the things I'm struggling with a lot recently, if I can have a moment to be honest in the Let's Plays, which is what I kind of like from these, is so this is a shorter Let's Play than normal, I assume at least. But one of the big struggles I've been having recently is YouTube. One of the weird things, again, this is one of those things people almost don't want you to be honest about, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. It's that I trust if you're a Let's Play viewer and you made it this far in, you want to hear the actual truth, not the fun version of it. But so here's the scoop, right? Making videos on YouTube has always been like I've always been like I find it hard to do certain tasks. I think I have what's the characteristic like getting bored quite easily is an easy thing for me. So I like to do fun, different things. That's why, that's why a lot of things are true on my channel. But that's also hopefully why some of you enjoy watching it. And so YouTube from the early days used to be like, yeah, it's the norm by and large that you make your videos and then you edit them and then so on and so forth. Like that, one person doing everything was the norm on YouTube for so long until 5-10 years ago. Whereas now, the standards for a video that is good is it requires a lot more people, which is good because now YouTube videos are so much better to watch. Some people hate it just because it affects them personally negatively, and I have the tiniest bit of that, not because YouTube videos are better now, but because they take more people. I am not good enough at making, say, thumbnails to ever make a thumbnail that is clickable enough for, like YouTube standards and, with viewer standards, like, to be honest, right? Like, it's, and so one of the fun things is like I need someone to make thumbnails. I need someone who's very good at editing. So I have Harrison. He's great. He does a very wonderful job. Look, here's a picture of London from 1400s. Wow, isn't that a nice picture? And here is me, but photoshopped onto a goose again. See, this is the sort of stuff that I wouldn't be able to do myself. But good job, Harrison. But the interesting thing is that like although it's very very it's very, very improved. It's improving on the quality. It means there's like lots more points of failure, right? When you're one person, you're either working 100% or you're not. Now that there's lots of parts of the process involved, I think everyone has a natural procrastinator inside of them. I've never met someone who is actually like successful at anything they do who doesn't procrastinate, and I think that's because if like the less capacity. This is a weird counterintuitive fact. The less ability you have to do something, the less like functional you are during it, the more you have to be like, like if you're willing to just sit there typing out like imagine you got a picture of the number was 1 to 100. If you're willing to just sit there and be like, oh, this wouldn't bore me to type out 1 and then 2 all the way up to 100. If that wouldn't bore you, then you would just do that, and there would be no loss or anything. Also, wow, this is missing some stuff, huh? But, like if you are someone who gets bored, you'd be like, how do I do that faster? And so once you work out how to do that faster, you're now more efficient. That's how I justify my own procrastinating to myself, at least. However, something which is, so I'd say a big problem with the whole logic of that is once you need other people, I can't get more efficient other people's jobs. I can try and hire more or better people. But, so there was a video, this is like one of my annoyances, is like, I can do everything I need to do for a video, get it all perfectly nailed and lined up, and then there's no thumbnail because the, thumbnail person is not doing great. Or I get really motivated for a video. I'm excited to beat Minecraft without archaeology. I'm excited to do a Minecraft, show off how many crimes Steve commits on the average playthrough of Minecraft. These are things that are genuinely super exciting to me, and I can do my bit as best I can or whatever, but then it jumps to someone else and I can't do it. And because it requires other people's jobs, I find it much harder to actually get myself to do it partially because I know that if it doesn't matter, you know, like, there's this weird thing of, like, the easiest way to push through procrastination. My advice is just force yourself to do the thing, right? If you've never tried that strategy, it genuinely works. Just force yourself, and if you can, you'll have the thing done. Like, it's usually not as hard as you make it seem in your mind. But when I know that if I do something, it doesn't even matter in the end, it just, like, hits someone else's, I get into this real, like, trap of, like, well, what's the point in just doing it? Like, if there's a chance I do this and I have the same outcome as if I don't do it, then that's kind of silly. And that's, you know, what's the point in doing it anyway? So I'm getting, like, real badly struck by procrastination. And that's something that really hurts to say. Like, when I hear people say, yeah, I'm just procrastinating a lot, it's saying, oh yes, my life is so easy that I can just not work and get away with it. You know, people who need to do stuff, they get the stuff done. And so it's almost like an admission, like, yes, I have enough luxury that if I do not make a video one day, I will not immediately starve. And, you know, that genuinely is a luxury. I mean, I can make jokes about it all I like, but it actually is. But that's where I'm at right now. I am struggling beyond belief to work on, like, you know, like, my boss became, instead of being my boss being the audience, like people who watch these videos, my boss is the algorithm. The algorithm will not show people my videos if it doesn't like them enough. And, you know, like, I want to believe that I can work out sometimes how to please the algorithm, but also I should have been using this the whole time. As much as I, you know, like, can work out, like, okay, what is my job? What am I doing? If it requires other people to do it, then I get, like, kind of frozen. I work very poorly with other people. The whole reason my podcast has to be alone is because if I try doing a podcast with other people involved, it just doesn't work. I'm doing one this week, and if you don't see it this week, then you know it fell apart somewhere in the process. But yeah, doing stuff with other people, very, very, very challenging for me. And so one of the things I just wanted to, like, have a moment to talk about is, like, yeah, one of my sad, yes, I am, you know, like, unrelatable facts is that I am what I've been up to this week is just struggling real hard with working out how to do stuff that involve other people. Like, so, you know, for example, thumbnail stuff. Like, it's like I want to work out if you want to be really good at what you do, if you feel like you have some skill to offer in regards to the YouTube production system, even if you think, like, okay, it's just the being able to create, like, ideas and notes and working out the algorithm that way. I'd love to hear what it is you can do, and maybe we can work out, like, some way where you can we can trial out you doing that. And if you can, send it to toycatassistant@gmail.com. You know, that's something, by the way, which, like, I do a lot of myself, but you know, like, working out what I can do so that I can do the things that I enjoy. And also, you know, like, making a giant desert well is much more important than sitting there on a thumbnail board being like, oh, it doesn't look like a giant thumbnail, like a giant desert well from this angle. How do I make it, like, light enough so that it gets clicked on by enough people so that people actually see the video where I talk about all this other stuff? Although in this case, it's talking about the process of the thumbnail, which I would be talking about. It's it's something that I've been struggling with a lot, and it's one of those dilemmas because even like, there are some issues where talking about them even is kind of, in a way, to be inherently kind of like, you know, yeah, it's the sort of thing people would rather you lie about and be like, oh, the reason that, you know, like, videos have been especially good recently, but taking longer to make, is because I've been putting so much money and effort into them, and, you know, there's a little bit of truth to that, but the real reason is it's hard to do my piece of a video when, like, 2 other people need to touch it even. And I think we're gonna need to, like, up the number of people on the ToyCat team. We've got, like, 2 or 3 right now. I think we need to up that number, and so if it sounds fun to you to occasionally, you know, like, work out some, you know, like, good, you know, ideas. If it sounds painful to you to work out notes and research ideas that already exist, or to do thumbnails. But if it doesn't sound painful to you, please email me, toycatassistant@gmail.com. Both me and the assistant. Check it out. But anyway, with that said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know with a like. I am going somewhere before next week's Let's Play, so I'm looking forward to recording that. Somewhere between this week and that week, the Let's Play will be going up for download. If you don't already know, the Let's Play world is available on the marketplace. You can go there, you type in ToyCat, and if you download it, you get free updates for as long as it makes sense for us to be able to put them out there. And so, since I last downloaded it, it might have had an update. I actually think I downloaded it quite recently. But when the update comes out in a couple of months or so, you will be able to download the world, including all of these desert wells, which people have bought and paid for, which I just think is beautiful. Especially, you know, this one looks really nice right here. The pink crafting table one looks nice. There's a lot of nice desert wells around. You can pick your favorite one if you download the world. If you can buy it now, and it'll be available for the update in a few months. I'll let you know more about the process as it happens. As for now, let me know if you have any like advice about what I've just said, because I feel like it's the sort of issue I just never expected in my life. I've deliberately spent a lot of my life avoiding working with other people, but I've come to the conclusion recently that I can't, and I'm trying my best to make that happen. Speaking of making it happen, let's slowly die to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, because you've been a swell guy and or person who's bi. For everyone else, sorry, you didn't do a good enough job today. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Goodbye. Oh, look at this. See how weird this is? Oh, from first person. What am I looking at? Anyway, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.